What's going on, everyone? Welcome along to Arsenal Fan TV, and this Sunday we are faced with an incredibly tough game, going away to Stamford Bridge to play the league leaders Chelsea. Now this game is going to be a total contrast to the performance that we saw against Galatasaray on Wednesday night. I don't mean in terms of a negative performance, but in terms of Chelsea aren't going to let us play that open, expansive style of football that we've seen. They've got players like Nemanja Matic that are going to close that down to an excellent standard, and they've got an absolute boss in midfield in him. As well as that, I would regard Chelsea as having the most complete team in the Premier League at the moment, and of course they're favourites to win it, so this is going to be a really tough game, and if we lose it, then they're going to go 9 points ahead of us. So I don't think we're in a position where we can afford to lose it, but in another sense, I'm kind of glad we're getting this fixture out of the way in early October, because it then leaves us for the rest of the season to focus on other games, and this is by far going to be our most difficult fixture of the season, apart from maybe Old Trafford away, where we always struggle to get something. But I'm optimistic going into this game. There was a lot of things we can take from that performance against Galatasaray that are incredibly positive. First of all, Matteo Flamini had a good game, and he's been one of those players that has been underperforming for us quite a bit recently, and he certainly stepped up his game, had a really good performance, and he can put that into that game that on Sunday and hopefully replicate the display he put up against the Turkish opposition, which is nothing but a bonus for us. But then again, you can't help but feel the power of Chelsea will overrun someone like Flamini, and I don't want to see him go back into his shell, because you don't want him to have a good performance like that and then for it just to go away so quickly. It's in a sense, it might be bringing him down to reality a bit, but I don't want to think about it that way. I want him to build on the performance he had. I'm hoping he can do that. But with the likes of Fabregas, Oscar, Schürrle, Hazard, Willian, I think it's going to be very difficult for Flamini to really make a name for himself in this game. But I'm hoping he will. Of course, I would love to see Abu Dhabi feature in this one. I don't know why he's not been included in the squad. Apparently he's got a hip problem now, something I was reading on BBC Sport earlier today. And it would have been great to have him in the team. He's someone that could have gone head to head with Nemanja Matic, someone that would have overpowered the likes of Fabregas in some respects. And whilst I'm on the topic of Fabregas, I know that he's going to get a load of criticism going into this game, but in my opinion, should just ignore the bloke, to be honest. He's moved on from us, we've moved on from him, we've both taken completely different paths, and so be it. Life goes on. He's not someone that we should be missing too much, because for God's sake, we've got Mesut Ozil, Alexis Sanchez, Santi Cazorla, Jack Wilshere, Aaron Ramsey. So we've got an array of talent in that area of the pitch, and we don't need him. He's gone to Chelsea. Life goes on. I don't really have too much of a problem with it, but I can totally understand why people would want to boo him. There is a bit of lack of respect in there, but you know, the guy's got to make a name for himself. He's got to earn his money, and he wants to continue playing at the top level. And if he's going to do that at Chelsea, then so be it. There's not much we can do about that. Anyway, regarding the performance I'm expecting to see from Arsenal, I would be more than happy if we came out of this game with a draw. It would keep us within 6 points of Chelsea, and at least we'd have got this fixture out of the way with a positive result. And I don't need to remind you of the performance that we put in against Chelsea last season. Absolute capitulation. Now, in our defence, we did have a lot of injuries going into that game. We didn't have Mesut Ozil, etc. in the team, and we're going into this game with, well, not a near fully fit squad. I don't even know why I was even going to use that term, because we've lost Ramsey, we've lost Arteta, but it is a good chance for certain players to really stake a claim for themselves. Jack Wilshere, I'm expecting a big performance from him in this one. He was rested on Wednesday night, and you can only assume that he's going to start this game. And what I loved about that game on Wednesday night was that front five we played of Alexis Sanchez, Oxlade-Chamberlain, Mesut Ozil, Santi Cazorla, and Danny Welbeck. The only change I would make to that is bringing in Jack Wilshere for Santi Cazorla, and I think it'd be a nice, robust change. Jack Wilshere is going to offer something a little bit different, but he's got all the attributes that someone like Cazorla does. So it's going to be great to see how he fits in with all that lot. It's going to be great to just great to see that front five really attributed themselves, and it's just such a momentum building team. And Alexis Sanchez and Chamberlain on the wings was formidable for us in that game, and I think we've got to change our tactics for this one. Wenger has to look at Chelsea, and you've got to assume that they're going to overrun us from the start of the game. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. If we hold off, defend well, catch them on a counter-attack with Alexis Sanchez, Danny Welbeck and Oxlade-Chamberlain going forward, that is going to blister them for pace. And the one area of the pitch that you could maybe criticise Chelsea for maybe not being up to scratch is in their defensive area. They conceded 3 goals against Everton, they conceded a couple of other goals, and John Terry is possibly the weak link. I know he's such a cult hero at Chelsea, but He's not the player he was a couple of years ago. Understandably, he is getting on a bit, and he hasn't quite got the pace that he had a few years ago, and that's something that we really need to be exploiting, and we've got the players to do that. I'm hoping Danny Welbeck will be able to bring in his confidence-boosting performance that he had in midweek, bring that into this game. I'll get into my team lineup actually. I'll go with Szczesny in goal, Callum James at right back, Mertesacker, Koscielny, Kieran Gibbs, Flamini, Wilshere, Sanchez, Ozil, Chamberlain and Danny Welbeck. Now that's a team that I would really love to see start this game. Of course, I've already mentioned that I would love to see Diaby occupied in that defensive midfield role again alongside Jack Wilshere, but unfortunately he's not going to be available for this one. If he makes some miraculous recovery, it would be great to see that. But Flamini, got to be a big game from him. I'm hoping he puts in a good performance and doesn't really emulate the kind of game he had against Tottenham, because that was a very poor performance from him, and I want him to be proven as wrong and putting in the same kind of shift he did against Galatasaray in midweek. But it's going to be a really massive game for us. If we could come out of this game with anything, I'd be more than happy. Even if it was just a point, but getting a win would be absolutely incredible. But obviously I'm not going to set my sights too high. I would just love us to get something out of this game and show that we're title contenders. If we could put in a resilient performance at least, that would be great. I'm not expecting us to overpower Chelsea. Of course, it's away. It's going to be very difficult for us to do that. But if we could just put it up some kind of really good fight, that would be great. And you know, the one thing that does worry me very slightly for this is the performance we put in against Dortmund a couple of weeks ago, where we just didn't show up. Very flat performance from us. But if we put in something like that, it could very well be the kind of performance we saw and result that we saw last season. But hopefully it won't come to that. Hopefully we've learned from our mistakes and we'll go into this game and hopefully we can get something out of it. Anyway guys, those are my thoughts on Arsenal's upcoming game against Chelsea in the Premier League on Sunday. If you haven't enjoyed the preview, please give it a like rating, subscribe to Arsenal Fan TV, and make sure to check out my own channel, AFC Game by Game. And as always, thank you for watching guys.